各位台北电影节的观众朋友大家好，欢迎你点入这支影片。那这支影片是我们针对今年入选台北电影节国际新导演竞赛的导演然后所制作的入选的 QA 影片。那这支影片会在此部电影第一场放映之后会上架我们的台北电影节的媒体平台，包含脸书还有官方 YouTube。那我们今天这支影片也很高兴的可以邀请到黑夜结束之前的Amparo 的导演，然后来参加我们的这一部 QA 访谈。那首先是不是可以请导演然后来跟台北电影节的观众朋友打声招呼？
Thank you everyone for watching this videos. This videos is a part of our interview series for the International New Talents Competitions in the Taipei Film Festival. This videos is pre-recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channels and Facebook after the first screening of Amparo. So today we're very happy to have the director of Amparo, Simón, with us today. So first of all, Simón, would you like to say a few words to the audience in Taiwan?
I'm very excited to see how people in Taiwan will approach the film. I hope we find it interesting to see a story from this side of the world and to find something interesting in it.
我很好奇台湾的观众会对于这片有什么样的态度跟什么样的想法跟反应，我也很好奇大家会如何看待这部来自世界另外一端的作品。
那黑夜结束之前大家可以知道这部作品其实它的故事是在讲述一名母亲还要救就是被抓进军营即将当兵的一个儿子。那首先当然也想请问导演为什么想要选择此题材作为你首部长片的故事呢？
So Amparo's film is about a single mother who tried to rescue her sons from the military raid or draft. So I would like to ask Simón first about why would you choose this topic as your first feature film?
Well, making films in Colombia is very difficult, and especially this kind of films because there are small films, or like independent kind of films. And it's my first film, so I wanted to do something that was very important for me. And after making short films, I made a few short films, and those short films portray mothers in a way. And I realized that in a way, I discovered that my mother was very important for me. For me, making these short films was like going to the psychologist and understanding how important was my mother for me. So I decided to make a film or start writing a film about my mother. I'm the son of a single mother, which is something very common in Colombia. And I start gathering memories from the 90s when I was a kid, and I came across some kind of memory of my older brother and the way he went to the army, and I start researching the subject around it. So at the beginning I wanted to make a very, very personal film about the story about a mother, like my mother and a son. But then when I start discovering this issue that is also very common in Colombia, especially back in the 90s, the kind of the story started going away from being personal. I mean, it's like half personal and half fictional, or based on stories of many other mothers in the same situations. That I think I also wanted to portray somehow the uneasiness of living in Colombia.
我自己之前拍摄过好几部短片，在哥伦比亚拍摄电影其实并不是件容易的事情，尤其做独立的作品的时候，其实有很多的困境。那我拍摄短片之后，决定要拍摄长片的时候，就觉得我想要拍摄一部跟我自己切身相关，或者是我自己比较有感的议题。那我在前面几部短片的作品当中，其实拍摄的主角跟角色都会涉及到母亲，所以我后来慢慢意识到，其实母亲对我的人生来说非常的重要。那其实对我来说，拍短片就好像是 是做心理治疗或心理咨商一样，让我慢慢意识到母亲的角色在我的人生当中扮演的重要性。那我这次的主题就因此从母亲的角色出发。那我当时在回想起自己在90年代的经验，我自己是单亲妈妈所抚养长大的孩子，其实这种情况在哥伦比亚非常常见。我回想到90年代的时候，想到自己的哥哥其实在90年代曾经从军，那我就意识到其实这个议题跟这个经验也在90年代非常普遍。我就开始去搜集不同的故事、不同的情节、不同的经验等等，发现到其实在当时其实有很多类似的故事一而再再而三的上演。所以本来我想要拍的是一个比较个人的电影，就是关于母子之间的互动，但是后来发现这个主题并不再只是个人的议题了，其实还涉及到很多的社会议题。所以对我来说，这部作品这一次是一半的来自自身经验，一部分来自于虚构或者是其他人共通的经验。
那这部电影其实它的背景也是设立于在1998年的哥伦比亚。那可不可以请导演与我们分享为什么你选择这样的年份，以及当时哥伦比亚在1998年它的历史政治环境又是怎么样
？The story in this film happens in 1998. I think most people in Taiwan do not know about the situation in Colombia in 1998. So would you explain to us about what happened there around 1998 and why did you choose 1998 as the year that the story happened?
Well, Colombia is a very uneasy place to live, or in general. I mean, it's not that, of course, this is a particular moment in time, but also in Colombia, there are many moments in time that we've been through decades and decades of many social issues and a lot of issues. So you can actually select any year in Colombia or decade and you will find some social difficulties, because we are a country that somehow haven't stopped fighting or having issues. But I think the 90s for me were important because this is the decade where I grew up. I was a child and almost a teenager back in the 90s. So I grew up in Medellín, which is the city where I am right now and the city where the film takes place. It was the most dangerous city in the world back in the 90s, at the beginning of the 90s. I think I chose that moment particularly because of me, because I wanted to feel again that sense of the aesthetics of the stories of that moment. That was important for me, telling the story that it was raised at the beginning from the point of view of my own mother, like the world of how I saw my mother back in the 90s. And I think that aesthetically for me was more interesting to see the city back in the 90s. But also because in Colombia there's also no cinema history. We don't have many films in the past, and I wanted to do somehow like a classic film in its way, and the way it was made. Visually, I wanted to make a classic film because we didn't actually have classic films in Colombia or in Medellín. There's no formalistic kind of classic like let's say Bergman or Kieslowski's films, or like we don't have that tradition. So I wanted to see a classic film that didn't exist. It's not that I wanted to make the most important classic film, but it's somehow like a film from that time. As a filmmaker, it was like something. As a filmmaker, I wanted to create that idea of watching something that was classic.
好， 其实在哥伦比亚这个社会当中，还有这个国家里面，其实经历过了很多的动荡，很多的社会冲突、紧绷关系跟战乱等等。所以其实不论是在选择哪一个时期、哪一个年代，在哥伦比亚都会有面对到很多的社会议题跟困境。那我自己呢，现在所在的地点叫做美德因，这个是哥伦比亚的一座大城市，这也是故事发生的地点。我自己从小在这座城市长大。美德因在90年代初的时候，其实是全世界治安最恶劣，或者是这样当地犯罪最猖獗的城市，所以其实当地有很多之前的社会问题，到现在一直延续下去。我自己特别选择这个时期，当然是一部分因为当时90年代的时候，我自己就是青少年，所以我希望能够去呈现当时我所记得的母亲，还有我当时所记得的城市。哥伦比亚并没有非常悠久的历史传统，过去产自哥伦比亚的电影作品其实非常少，所以我们并没有所谓的经典电影或经典片。所以我想借由这个故事来呈现出，如果我是当时的电影导演，然后我们如果要去呈现一部在90年代拍摄电影的时候会是什么样子，所以一部分而言，这也是我自己作为电影导演想要做的企图跟想望。我希望透过电影来去呈现90年代哥伦比亚的样子，同时去有一部分去虚构或者是重塑跟重现当时哥伦比亚这个社会的面貌是如何。
那在片中其实也看到他的其实这个母亲他的孩子就是被强制的就是抓到哥伦比亚军营，就是要准备要为国战，然后要当兵这样子。那是不是可以请导演聊一下就是哥伦比亚他们的一个当兵的一个制度又是为何？我想在台湾和哥伦比亚这两边的当兵可能有所不同。
So in Taiwan, we used to have compulsory military service. All the males have to go to militaries for 1 year or 2 years in the past. I don't know what the situations in Colombia. What was the military services system in Colombia back in the time, and also here now in 2022? Are all the men compulsory to go to military service, or are they forced to go into military service?
It is still mandatory here. As in many countries, as you said, also in Israel or in Korea, is mandatory. I know. In here is still mandatory, but I think that there has been changes in a way. Like there is different the way the conflict, the internal conflict we used to live in this country is changed in a way. So for instance, there's like something that is portrayed in the film that is when you were 18 and you were walking down the streets of the cities, the military people will can usually ask you if for your ID, military ID, and if you didn't have one, they would put you on a truck. This is something that was very common in here, and it was because there was a lot of people going to the countryside. There was let's say an internal conflict, like a civil war going on. It still happens in a way, but the logistics of these conflicts change in a way. But at that time, and this is also a reason that I felt it was stronger at that time, this issue of military trucks taking young people to the countryside or to the army was something that now is illegal. It's supposed to be illegal in this country. You cannot take a kid or a young boy and put it on a truck and go with him to the countryside or to a battalion. But this was very common 10 years ago in Colombia. Now, because of political changes and the way the country is right now, and there's like a social unrest in this country that doesn't allow these kind of things to happen, because it was horrific. I mean, if you are just taken in the streets or something like that. So yeah, I think it was a bit more. I think the youth nowadays doesn't feel that much that fear of going, but still you have to go in a way.
哥伦比亚跟世界上很多国家都一样，都是采取征兵制度，跟以色列啊等等国家都一样。那至今仍是如此，我们的征兵制度依然存在。那一部分的原因当然是因为哥伦比亚其实长年以来经历过了很长一段时间的内战的状况，所以在电影里面其实有呈现出来这个青少年或年轻人他们在路上走路的时候，随时都会被军方的人拦下来，问你有没有这个服役的证明。如果你没有这个服役过的证明的话，他们就直接把你抓上卡车，然后再往比如说乡间或者是再往的内战的战场等等。当然这个情况是非常可怕的，而且其实一直以来这样的作为都是不合法的。不过其实一直到10年之前，我们都还听过这样的情况发生。现在当然因为哥伦比亚的内战环境改变，政治局势改变，社会的态度也开始改变之后，这样的非法的行为，就是非法强拉人去当兵这样的行为，当然就变得非常的引起争议，也不再发生了。不过虽然现在是哥伦比亚社会里面还是有很多的纷争冲突，还有很多紧绷关系等等，但是现在的确社会环境的有些不同的变化，所以大家现在不再允许政府或者是军方再采取这样的行为，强迫人们去当兵。不过我们目前征兵制度依然存在，所以我们还是会看到现在年轻人不用再害怕，就是临时在路上突然间被拉到战场上去当兵，但是他们还是必须要有从军的义务跟这责任。
那在黑夜结束之前，其实她非常特别，就是她本片的女主角，她的演技也非常精湛，是由 Sandra Melissa TORRES 所执演的。那她其实也是一个非职业的演员。那可不可以请导演谈一下，当初怎么会找到这个演员来饰演母亲的这样的一个角色？
So the main actress, Sandra Melissa TORRES, is a very outstanding actress. She did wonderful in this film, but she was not a professional actress. So can you talk to us about the casting process and how does this process or this non-professional actress influence your filming process as well?
Well, I've been working in the short films when I was making short films also with non-professional actors. In this case, we created a group, a team of a casting team that was we hired a casting team that was very professional from the city, like friends of ours, and we created a team to find like we used to call them Amparos. Like we went throughout the city and look for people like to see the film, to discover the film, because we knew the film, the face of the main character will be the most important thing in the film, because it's like a portrayal very close to her face. So it was important for us during the casting process to look for her. So we spent like 6 months looking for her with a team. I was like more away from this process because it was a casting team that was looking around all the time, and we find her in a neighborhood, in a high school in a neighborhood by accident, and we used to make these little videos of the 1-minute videos, like presentation videos, to gather all the possible actresses, and she was one of the first in these videos. That her face was for me, it was kind of very interesting. And then the casting went on, and we make like a pre-selection of, after watching like, I don't know, like a lot of possible Amparos, and we at the end we have like 10, and she was there, and she just had the ability to perform, even though she's not an actress, a professional actress. We believe she's an actress. Perhaps the background she has, because I don't know, it's like I believe that she is an actress, but she didn't realize it until then. And she thought she couldn't make it, but somehow we knew she could, and we were interested in the expression and the aesthetics of her face. I thought it was very important for me that, and all those 10 pre-selection we had, they were for me they were very strong visually first, like the way they look, the way the expressions they have, and the face. And at the end, these 10 Amparos we have is like they were all amazing, and each of them will make a different film. So at the end it was a very hard decision, but at the end those women of the casting, these 10 girls, like the majority of them are part of the film because they are different characters in the same film. So that was kind of like the process. I think Sandra at the end had like some resemblance to my mother, I think, in a way, like the way, like when my mother was young. I don't know. I sometimes I think this has a lot to do with the resemblance to my own mother.
我之前在拍摄短片的时候，也曾经跟非专业的演员合作过，所以我并不是完全对这样的经验很陌生。我们这一次在拍摄作品之前的时候，其实找了一个选角的团队，他们到美德音的各地呢去寻找可能适合的这些角色或者是演员，所以我当时并没有参与这个搜寻的过程。那 Sandra 呢，就是当时就是我们其中找到一位演员，非常的巧遇的情况之下，在一个中学附近找到了这位演员。那每一位要加入选角跟参与选角的这些女演员，她们都必须要先拍摄1分钟的影片。那我当时在看影片的时候，其实 Sandra 就是前面的前几位的这个演员，我对她的表情、她的五官还有她的态度非常的感兴趣，也觉得非常的迷人。我们后来参与之后，进行了第1轮的初选之后，后来选了大概10位的女演员。其实这些的女性，她们都具有我觉得她们都虽然并不是专业演员，她们其实都具备这些演员的特质。尤其是我觉得她们尤其是 Sandra， 我觉得她其实有表演能力，只是她自己还不自知而已。我其实在看过这些10个演员之后，都觉得她们各有特色。由他们10个人任何人来饰演这个角色的时候 ，Amparo 这个角色的时候，其实都会有非常不一样的效果。所以其实当时在抉择的时候非常的困难。最后我选择 Sandra 一部分的原因是因为她的五官、她的神情、她表现出来的态度等等，让我非常的感兴趣。另外一点是，我觉得她在某一部分而言非常的神似我的母亲年轻的时候，我觉得这也是很重要的一部分。对我来说，她能够去呈现或者是重新刻画出我母亲年轻的样子，这个就是我们后来最后选择 Sandra 作为主角的原因。那其实这10位初选通过的演员，后来都陆陆续续有出现在这个作品的不同角色当中。
About the story, like you are part of the story as well. So in that way, I think like putting the camera close to her, it will kind of like enhance the idea of the story, or what the story was telling, and in this way, like this kind of it's like watching her in this journey she's having, and like struggling to in her everyday life, and also the camera is also like being bothering to her, like, you know, like she's always close to her. It was an idea that we had that was interesting for us, like creating this kind of idea of bothering people with the face too close, but also telling the story just by like taking the people out of the story was interesting for me, and to just see her, and also because this is a very low budget film. We didn't have much money to make this film. We didn't have the money to create all the production design that was necessary for the film, like to create the Medellín of the 90s. So we came up with ideas of how to hide the city, so we don't have to hire a lot of people to have to do a lot of work. The people in my team, they don't think like that, because it's like, I mean, they say like this is not the reason, but I do believe I mean, this is the reason. This is one of the reasons. Like we wanted to make the film not 4x3, like not square, but a bit like wider. But at the end, we decided that the 4x3 will help us a bit to the production design team not to have to show too much the city of the 90s. So that was also the help, like to get close to her and make it a bit blurry, the background. So at the end, we don't see much of the city of Medellín, you know.
在这部作品里面的确有很多的特写镜头，那我其实从拍摄短片以来就非常喜欢用特写镜头来去呈现主角的角色的情绪，还有跟随他们的故事。我之前在拍摄这部作品短片叫做 Madre， 叫做母亲，是2015年16年的作品。当时这部作品就在描述的也是一个青少年的故事，那我们的镜头也非常的贴近这位青少年，然后去贴近他的故事等等。所以这个是我一直以来都习惯呈现的方式。我一方面用特写的方式让大家能够看到这些情绪，另外一方面是有时候我觉得这样的情况之下可以让大家强迫大家去正视这个角色的表情、他的五官、他的反应等等。有些人可能会觉得这样好像会有点出戏，但是我觉得这是一个非常有趣的反应。透过这些不同的陈设跟这些拍摄方法之后，让大家能够更加的直觉的看到这跟正视这个故事本身的内容跟本身的作品。那另外一方面是因为我们这部作品其实成本非常的低，预算也非常有限，没有办法有时间跟有财力去重建90年代的城市美德因的景象，所以透过这个特写的方式之后，某部分而言的话可以把背景模糊掉，让大家看不出来背景确切的样子之后，不用花这么多的时间或这么多的金钱去重塑90年代美德因可能是什么样的情况。我们的制作团队其实未必会同意我这样的看法，不过我觉得这的确是我们当时在考量的一个方式。那透过这个特写之后，让背景模糊掉之后，虽然你知道自己身在这个城市里面，可是并不一定的看得出来这个城市确切的样貌是什么。
那当然刚刚也有提到，就是在哥伦比亚的制作电影的环境其实是相当困难，也没有太多的哥伦比亚电影的产出。那也想问问导演说，是什么样的契机让你想要就是拍电影，然后踏上导演之路？
So you mentioned that there were not a lot of movies coming from Colombia in the past, and there was no traditions of making films in Colombia. So I would like to know what was the intention or what was the motivations that bring you into a film director?
I don't know. I don't come from a filmmaking background. I don't come from a artist family, and I always ask myself that question. But I think it's because I didn't know. I wanted to be a musician. I used to play guitar, and I had a band or something like that. And I thought it was gonna be harder to study music, no future at all. So and then I thought, okay, what will I do? I started looking before I was about to finish high school, or and thinking about university and these things, and I saw this programming of audiovisual media and things like that, and I say I'm gonna try that. And I used to watch films the same way I used to look for music, because I like listening to bands and finding a good band. That I remember I always liked David Lynch, and I like David Lynch, or films from Jim Jarmusch, or things like that, but not as a filmmaker. And then when I decided to study this, I met some friends there, and then was a professor here and there, and I started like I remember that I had like a university exercise that was making a short films out of pictures, like with photos, and I thought that was amazing. I mean, when I did it the first time, I thought this is great, and I unfortunately I liked it, and I started making short films, and that was it. And now I it's been like I don't know, it's been like 15 years or more since then, and I'm still here trying to make films. Yeah.
好问题，我自己不知道答案欸。其实我自己并不是学习电影出身的背景，我自己的家庭也没有这个艺术的环境。 我以前的时候曾经想要当一位音乐人，我曾经想要在乐团里面担任吉他手等等，但是在哥伦比亚其实要学音乐的话，其实出路可能更少，所以我后来觉得这个太遥不可及了。我中学毕业的时候在想说到底在大学要念什么呢？后来就看到突然看有个课程在做影视媒体的制作，所以我就开始感兴趣，之后后来就参与了这个课程，也加入开始就读这个课程。我自己小时候其实很喜欢看电影，也喜欢听音乐。那我自己其实当时就是个观众，就是一位听众。那我可能我就看大卫林区的电影啊等等不同的电影，但是当时并没有想要当导演的意图或者是这样的想法。后来在大学的时候，其实陆陆续续接触到一些不同的教授，他们给我一些不同的观念跟想法，我觉得很有意思。直到后来我在课程的过程里面，曾经有一堂课要做这样作业跟练习，我们要运用照片来制作成短片。那刚好因为这样的情况之后，我就喜欢上拍摄电影或者是做电影的这样的感觉之后，从当时到现在大概前后15年的时间，我到现在还是依然如此，喜欢拍电影，然后喜欢从这样的过程里面慢慢试图把电影拍出来。
那当然导演也有提到，就是过往其实也拍过不少的一个短片的作品。那从短片到长片，对导演来说最大的困难还有挑战又会在哪里呢？
So you mentioned you produced several short films before, and now this is your first feature film. From short film to feature film is a huge step. What was the challenge for you to make this step?
Well, I think there was a lot. I think I learned a lot not to think too much because I thought a lot. I used to think a lot. I think I shouldn't think that much and just make what I enjoying more. I think the writing process was more challenging, and for me the most challenging thing was finding the money, actually financing a film. I think I have issues with the way the industry works for these little films, for films from outside the industry. These films like from Latin America, films from Asia. I don't know how it's in Taiwan, but it's difficult to finance films. So I think this is something that the industry is like that, and something that you have to adapt. And there's a lot of people trying to make films, and because the process of making a film is very beautiful. I mean, like conceiving an idea or working on a project and trying to put things into life in a film. But beyond that, this is also the problem of how you want to make a film or financing the film, or because a short film is, I mean, at least for me, it's easier to make. It's something that is more, for me, it's closer to cinema in a way, because it's just, you want to make a film, you just make it, you know. Which with feature films is more difficult, because it's you have to spend time not only shooting or writing, but also talking to people so they give you money to make films. So this is the biggest challenge for me, because actually shooting the film, it was a beautiful and amazing experience. It's beautiful. It's like cinema, the way of the idea of making a film, and not only me, but a team of people like working on the same goal and working as like a family. You know, this is very beautiful. But then you finish making a film and you think about the next project, and then you start thinking about okay, how are you going to finance this project? And this is something that is, for me, is more, it's the challenge for me.
其实对我来说，从短片的长片会面临到很多的挑战。我其实是一个非常习惯想太多的人，但是在拍摄这部作品的时候，我开始要慢慢练习，不要想太多，要去试着享受这个拍片的过程。对我来说，另外一个挑战是写剧本的挑战，毕竟这个剧本比过去的短片来说长了很多。那另外一个挑战是在于，其实我没有很习惯这个 整个电影产业运作的方式。那我们这部作品来自于拉丁美洲，那在筹资跟募资上面非常的困难。我不知道在台湾的情况如何，不过如果跳脱在主流产业之外的时候，我们要试图去找到财源跟经费去拍电影，其实是个非常困难的过程，也是一个很漫长的过程。我自己很喜欢拍电影，我很喜欢这个拍电影的本身的过程，从发想到构思到筹组团队到最后拍摄的时候，我觉得整个过程都很美好，但是唯独的困难点就是在于筹资这方面，尤其是拍摄短片跟长片不太一样。我觉得其实拍摄短片其实更接近于拍电影的本质，因为你有想法你就去拍，然后就把它拍出来。但是在拍长片的时候，有很多涉及到很多背后这些务实跟现实的考量。我很喜欢拍电影的过程里面，一群人朝向同一个目标迈进，然后好像一家人一样一起合作把它完成。但是当电影完成之后，或拍完电影之后，你要开始想下一部电影的时候，又要去经历那个如何去哪里找钱，如何去哪里找到足够的经费跟资源来拍下一部电影。我觉得这个是对我来说非常大的挑战。
好，那今天也非常谢谢这个黑夜结束之前的导演 Simón MESA SOTO 来接受我们的访问。那在最后是不是也请看是不是有导演还有什么话想要对我们台北电影节的观众朋友说
？Due to time constraint, I think we have to close the session. So thank you very much for your time in this interview. At the end of this video, is there any words you would like to say to the audience and viewers in Taiwan?
Well, I'm very honored and happy. I mean, it's always good to know that the film that you had put so much effort and love is somewhere around there being watched on a screen. So I hope it's going to be something enjoyable for somebody there in those chairs. So thanks for being there watching this film. This is the only thing I can say. Thank you.
我非常的荣幸，也非常的感谢这次能够在台湾上映这部作品。那我也觉得我们花了这么多时间、心力跟这么多的心血所拍出来的电影，很高兴能够知道它能够带到这么远的地方，在世界的另外一端有这么多人，然后坐在电影院里面看这部电影。希望在电影院里面的各位有某些人会喜欢这部电影。谢谢。
那今天也谢谢就是导演接受我们的访谈。那在这部电影之后呢，未来还会有3个场次的放映，会在台北电影节期间放映。那观看完此片的QA 的观众朋友，如果有兴趣或有问题想要问导演，可以在这部影片下面留言。那我们的国际新导演竞赛的得奖名单也会在7月8号的时候公布，也记得锁定我们的官方脸书还有任何的媒体平台。那今天我们也再次谢谢黑夜结束之前的导演 Simón MESA SOTO 来接受我们的访问，也谢谢大家的收看，谢谢。
So last but not least, these videos will be uploaded to the YouTube channels after this first screenings. And after these videos, there are 3 additional screenings in Taipei Film Festivals. So hopefully some audience after watching these interviews will be interested in watching Amparo's in the cinema. And once again, thank you, Director, for your time in these interviews. And we will see everyone very soon next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.